I started here, I didn't know anything about mold making, didn't know anything about injection molding, but I had employees, co-workers who knew exactly that, and they taught me everything I know pretty much.
I've always been in manufacturing. My first lab gig ever was in plating.
It's a good entry-level job to start with little schooling, and then you can work your way up all the way to the top.
Conversations are completely different. You don't go into it with this show up and throw up mentality. What you're trying to do is solve a problem of theirs. You're looking to find out the pain points and figure out what is it exactly that you can touch on to build that trust, like we talked about last week, and to establish that you have a solution for it. You're going through the effort of talking to people. You're going through the effort of trying to build your pipeline and all that stuff. And then what are you doing with all that data? You're putting it into a central system like CRM, and then it can help all your salespeople. It can help all your data. You can track all your stuff to it. Plus, you can use it as content distribution to be able to send out case studies, articles, videos, things like that to your strategic audience. CRM should be the lifeblood of your business. And a lot of times people will build out their pipeline, they got opportunities, and they just sit and wait. And I've had so many conversations with people individually, companies where the salespeople are waiting around for things to happen, and they're waiting around for deals to get done, and that just doesn't work. Anything can happen. I've been in situations back in 2008 when the market crashed and automotive took a dump, and I was in sales at a plastics company, and we lost 35% of our business overnight, and I was tasked to go and replace it. And that was difficult back in 2008. And so you never know what's going to happen. So you always have to keep feeding the top of this funnel and feeding this beast and building out your pipeline. Never assume that any deal is done until it's inked. What is up, guys? Kyle Milan here. It is Monday, and today we are talking about industrial marketing. We're back with another episode. So, housekeeping rules for those our first viewers of this live. Just wanted to touch base on a couple quick things. Number one, we do not charge for this stuff. I put all of my content out there for free, unless you want structured content on Technical Sales University to walk you through a more structured, coursework style environment. But the only favor that I ask from you guys is, could you please like it, share it, send it to somebody that you feel may get some value out of it, whether you're watching this on the recording or watching live. Every little bit helps me out. And also engage. If you guys have any questions about the content we're talking about today or something random about something else that we talk about, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll get to all of the comments after the break. But those comments mean the world to us because it shows that you guys care. So don't just sit there and watch, but please engage and hit those thumbs on LinkedIn if you're watching on LinkedIn. So if you've been struggling to increase your brand, your company brand, then in this episode, we're going to cover two main areas for you to look at. So let's talk about the brand first off. So most people think of a brand as their company, but I want to break it into two main areas. So you've got your company brand on one side and you've got your personal brand on the other side. And too often people don't pay attention to their personal brand. They think, my personal brand is something that if I'm famous or in the public eye or things like that. But really you have to think of it from the standpoint that your personal brand does matter, because in an ideal situation, it's not my name is Joe and I work at this company. It's my name's Joe. And then people are like, oh yeah, you do all those things. So whether it's videos, articles, funny memes, things like that, making yourself aware in the space of whatever it is that you're an expert in, industrial or manufacturing, that's important, because that is extremely valuable, not only to you in the future and you right now with potential opportunities, but that's also valuable to you if you ever look to get a different job down the road. So if you just always associate yourself with the company, then that's what people are going to perceive. But your personal brand can be everything under the sun that makes you you and makes you stand out. And then if you do want, let's say that the company you're working for is not the right vehicle for you, and if you want to make a change down the road, you've got a bigger opportunity to do it if you've got your own personal brand, because people are going to want to pay for that attention. And it's often far too forgotten, and people just associate it with celebrities and things like that. But your personal brand is very important. It can make you a significant amount of money and open doors down the road, as long as you think of it like that. So as I'm going through these two main areas, keep that in mind, that your personal brand does matter. So from a company brand standpoint, for those of you that are in marketing that are tuning in, you know what the brand is. But what I'm talking about is not specifically brand messaging and the look and the feel and things like that. I'm talking about, how do you get your name in front of as many people as possible? So look at the current state of whatever it is that you guys do, and feel free to leave in the comments what industry you're in, or what manufacturing or industrial sector, so that way it can give us kind of some additional information on how to scope this once we come back after the break. But depending on what vertical and what sector you're in, like, who the competitors are, right? You know who your main competitors are. And I always break down into two areas. One, it's your competition from a search standpoint. So who are you competing with on search when people search for your services or your product? And then the other one's going to be, who do you compete with on a daily basis for business, for RFQs or RFPs or purchase orders or things like that? Who do you compete with? A lot of times they're not the same, because people are so hyper focused in, well, I don't really go up against them. But look at it from a national standpoint. From a Google search standpoint, you might have a completely different list of competitors. But look at those competitors and audit them and see, what are they doing right now and how can you stand out from that? I guarantee you that most companies are not doing what we're going to cover, and not doing the things that we do for our clients. And everything that we do at MFG Tribe is all backed based on data. And every strategy that we put in place, every tactic that we use is not just, in the beginning, it may be like, hey, let's try this out and see if it works, but everything's backed on data, and it's not just some off the wall theory. So we do it for a specific reason, because it works. And these are two main areas that we want to talk about today. So the first area is going to be looking at consistent content. So most of your competitors probably are not producing any sort of consistent content on a daily, weekly basis, either because they don't have the resources internally, or because they're not partnering with an agency like MFG Tribe that knows the market and knows what should you create. So consistency is key with everything. If you're posting something and creating content and putting it out there on a consistent basis, it will inadvertently increase your brand just from the sake of noise, right? So if you look at all the noise in the environment, and I don't mean literal noise, I mean people trying to get the attention of who you're trying to go after as potential customers, just look at the persona of who you're going after. They've got the internal noise of their emails, their internal meetings, their bosses, if they're purchasing, their cost reduction opportunities and budgets and things like that. They've got all this noise that's surrounding them. So how can you find your way in there and just get a glimpse of their attention? And the only way to do it is not going to be with an email in an email marketing campaign. It's going to be putting a piece of content that is relevant in front of their face and doing it on a consistent basis. Consistency is key. Doing it once or twice and then falling off the face of the earth and coming back is usually what kills brands. And a lot of times the upper management and managers will say, well, we tried that and it didn't work. But did you really try it consistently? So let's break this into two areas. So one of the areas is going to be any sort of written content. It doesn't have to necessarily be an article, but articles, case studies, white papers. You can call an article a blog, depending on the platform that you're on. But any sort of written content is going to be one of the main two areas. The opposite side of that is going to be any sort of video content. Like, as you know, the way things are in 2021 and will continue to evolve, video is more effective when it comes to getting engagement from people. You can show somebody a 60-second video and it could do way better performance-wise than a 1,500 or 2,000 word article. But you have to do both, because there is still people out there. The market's pretty much split in industrial, where people like to read, people like to watch. So what type of written content should you do versus the video? And they can go hand in hand. The written content, if you are writing articles, case studies, white papers, things like that, you want to make sure that the length of it is sufficient from a Google search standpoint. We've got a client that their number 1 and 2, I think maybe even the third top landed on pages of their website are articles that they've written 2 years ago. I mean, they're getting thousands of views just from that article that they wrote 2 to 3 years ago because it was so good. It was valuable. It was a well thought out article. It solved a problem that was out there, and that's bringing in traffic. It's not it's not that people are going to that the most. That is what the tool is. It's bringing in traffic. People search for something. This article shows up. They click it. They come to the website. I mean, that's significant amount of traffic. So you need to make sure that it's at least 1,000 words. That's kind of the minimum. If in numerous studies they've done show that blog posts, articles that are top ranking in the top 1 and 2 positions have a minimum or an average of 1,800 words. Now, from an industrial standpoint, it's less competitive because there are less industrial companies creating written content consistently. So we always look at it from 1,000 word standpoint, and you need to do it consistently, and consistently meaning 2 to 4 times a month. And that may be a ton for you guys sitting there like, how am I going to possibly do that? Go find an agency to do it for you if you don't have the resources. We write at MFG Tribe about 300 articles a year for our clients. Some get 2, some get 4, some get 1. It all depends. And some get none because they already have resources doing it. So we write over 300 articles a year. This stuff works. People want to read. It gives you a piece of content to share out there. It improves organic SEO, and it sets your brand apart. So when you look at those competitors, go to their news section, go to their blog section, go to their articles and see, are they creating content? And most likely it's not going to be consistent. That's one way to stand out. The second way is going to be with video. And it doesn't have to be always fancy videos done by an agency, done by a production house. It could be simple depending on the intent and the purpose behind it. If you're just posting on social, if you're just going to share it out like that or post on your website as a background, it doesn't have to be, it's a different type of creative. But if you're trying to drive traffic from it and trying to show that you're a subject matter expert, then it should be a little bit more polished. You should work with a company like ours, and we can do all that for you. The biggest kickback that I get when we talk to new people is, how are you possibly going to create 24 or 36 videos a year, 48 videos a year? How could you possibly create that many topics for us to talk about? And it's easy when you break it down into two categories. Same thing with articles. It's either going to provide a significant amount of value to the potential customer, or it's going to make Google happy. Now, ideally, it does both, right? Ideally, there's a lot of search volume, and by a lot in industrial and manufacturing, you're talking 500, 700 searches a month. That's a lot. So you're getting 500, 700 searches a month for this search phrase that can be an article, and then plus it provides tremendous value to your potential customers. That's kind of like the golden goose. It doesn't always happen like that, but it just has to check one of those 2 boxes. And once you look at it from that standpoint and really break down everything that it is that you do in every different area and different industries and different solutions and all that, you can easily come up with 50 to 100 topics very quickly if you diligently work through it. But that key is going to be creating the content. You have to have a content marketing strategy. If you don't have the resources, work with an agency. If you don't have the buy-in from management, show them data from Google Analytics showing that the traffic is decreasing or that your competition is doing something different. Usually upper management will pay more attention if you take your biggest competitor and say, look what they're doing now. They're already kicking our butt out there, or they're already right behind us in revenue or in brand awareness. And they're doing this now. This is going to really boost it. Typically, when you show something like that to upper management, they may say, okay, we need to consider it, and then work with an agency that knows the market, knows the industry, that can put some meat behind it with data showing you that, yes, this does work. So that's going to be the first areas to look at, is the consistent content. The next area is going to be LinkedIn. And for a lot of you watching this, either on replay or watching it live, you're on LinkedIn right now. The reason why you're on LinkedIn and why you're in this live is because we did something that caught your attention for you to come to it. And and if you look at excuse me, if you look at all the different areas and all the different attention and how are people getting the noise that's coming to them with emails and things like that, you may think that LinkedIn isn't a popular place for them to go to, but I can guarantee you, based on client data and based on our data, that people are on LinkedIn a lot more frequent than what you think. It may not be daily, it may not be even weekly, but they're on there, and they're on there maybe even from a standpoint of just watching and not engaging. Just like on some of these lives, we've got 15, 20, 25 people in here, but maybe only 2 people engage, which is fine. But that situation happens. You have to understand that the people are on LinkedIn. So looking at the platform, this is the fastest way to get a hold of them. You can try calling them, you can try email marketing to them, but you've got blocks and people aren't in the office and all that stuff. So from a marketing standpoint, looking at how do I get in front of my potential customers by building out my brand, it's going to be create something in the first step, written or video, and you want to distribute it on platforms where it could potentially go in front of your audience that you're trying to go after. Again, look at your competition. How many of your competitors are creating consistent video content? How many of your competitors are doing LinkedIn Lives? That's an area that you really need to focus on. LinkedIn, when LinkedIn Live first came up, it was like a beta testing phase, and you had to apply and you had to go through all this scrutiny to get accepted into it. But now, from a company page standpoint, you just literally go in, you put in the company page URL, you say who you are, it's tied to your profile, and you just say, I want to apply for this. And they get back to you and let you know. So LinkedIn Live can be a great way for you guys to get in front of either your followers, and then also all of your individual employees, share that content out to all of their network. And hopefully they're building their network. Hopefully they've seen some of my other content. If they haven't, take them to the YouTube channel and show them all of our LinkedIn playlists where it says exactly how to build your network, scale your network, engage with people, and bring people from LinkedIn into your pipeline in the top of your funnel. It's all out there for free for you guys to look at, strategize, and then implement. And so hopefully somebody's doing that. If they're not, make them do that ASAP. And then when you say that your company is going to go on LinkedIn Live, have them all share it out and see what type of numbers you get back in. And even if you're doing lives 2 times a month, once every 2 weeks, it's a way for you to do something different. And that's what this is all about. Do something different to make you stand out. You don't have to be first. You don't even have to be best. You just have to be consistent and present. And by focusing on LinkedIn, a lot of companies, whether they're big or small, are not really engaging. They're not creating consistent content. They're not creating the right content. You can go to my video about the weekly strategy for LinkedIn, where I break down exactly what you should post on a weekly basis, Monday through Friday, which posts you should do, what should be the mix of content about you, content about the industry, and things like that. And I break it all down in that video. But looking at your competitors, if they aren't doing that, then this is your way to increase your brand awareness. But you have to start right now. You cannot wait until the new year. You cannot wait until the start of Q2. You can't wait for all these people to send approvals. You have to do it now, because in industrial, in manufacturing, timing is everything. If you're relevant today, you might not be relevant tomorrow. It all depends on what you're trying to go after, who you're selling to. Tomorrow they may not have a need. There's opportunities missed every single day in this industry. I went through it for 15 years. I still go through it on a daily basis. There's companies right now that are Google searching Chicago, New York, North Carolina, marketing agency. We're not showing up because we're not there, because they're not searching for us. So how do we get in front of people? We go on the offense and we let them know about what it is that we do. And that's what you have to do. And you don't have to do it in a sales way. You don't have to do direct selling. You just have to do it from everything's about building the brand and building the brand awareness. And that has to be your main focus to really grow. Is it has to be based on something. You can create infographics and brandographics and things like that. You can do webinars, stuff like that. I would replace webinars with LinkedIn Lives, because you can get more interaction. You can share it out through a platform that's already got the network there. You don't have to send it through email marketing, but you have to focus on what should I do today and what's my strategy going to be for 3 weeks from now when the year changes over. What are you going to be doing different? Because most likely what you've been doing isn't working as well as you hoped for, especially with the way that things have been going with COVID. So those are the 2 main areas. Now we're going to take a short break and we'll come back, answer all your questions, and hopefully we'll see some engagement from you guys. And we are back. Like I said, guys, be sure to leave your comments. There is a slight delay from when you hear this to when you actually see it, or when I speak it to when you see it. So make sure that you throw those comments in the comment section. We'll get through as many as we can, as long as you guys keep engaging up until the end of the show. So we're going to bring in the first comment. LinkedIn. So an issue with our third-party streaming software is it just says a LinkedIn user. So I apologize not calling you by name. So friendly challenge. Why should I want my name in front of everyone? What if I just want to hyper focus on my target customer? Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying that you have to go in front of everybody, right? You don't have to, you're not looking for your name to go in front of every single person. But if you look at it from a standpoint of omnipresence, which I've covered in other shows, which is being everywhere all at the same time, just use omnipresence for your target potential customers, whether it's an industry, a niche, a company size, a specific title, engineering, operations, purchasing, whatever it is. But the goal would be, like for you, I want you to get your name in front of every single person that could potentially buy something from you because you can provide value. This is not just you can buy something from me, so I'm going to connect with you and then I'm going to sell you something or talk about my services. You have to be able to provide value. You have to have some sort of value exchange. Just like you're giving me your time right now, I'm giving you information. That's the value exchange. So you have to lead first by providing value, and then down the road you can possibly get something in return. But yeah, the audience size, like me, I'm not trying to get in front of all 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. I'm trying to get in front of a very strategic, targeted niche of people, and you would be the same way. So you really want to make sure that your target market, your demographic, whoever you're trying to go after, identify that, write it down on a piece of paper, create a bullseye around it, and it's everything you do is to get in front of those people, because it will drastically change how you go about doing business for the next couple of years. Mark, would love to hear your take on including some traditional old skills tactic like direct mail, for instance, into your digital strategy. Mark, thanks so much for the comment. Yeah. So direct mail, it's like everything with marketing comes in these ups and downs, right? These ebbs and flows. Once all the attention shifts into one area, the traditional ways tend to be forgotten about. And if so, you think about it, everything from an attention standpoint and noise, like we said, if somebody's getting so much noise, even if it is through LinkedIn, somebody keeps getting hounded in email and phone and stuff like that. But most of the market moved on and think that sending a postcard or a strategic placed some sort of package directly in front of them at the company, as long as they're going in the office, which I hate that we have to say that, but as long as they're going in the office, that can work, because the attention in the market has shifted onto something else. And now it opens up these old school ways, right? So look at like billboards, for instance. 5 years ago, billboards were just in the tanks. Just nobody was doing billboards. I mean, the people who were doing it were the same old people doing it. And because people were not paying attention. And I feel like there still are down. The amount of attention that goes to billboards is down. But once it becomes so cheap, it's like, why not? Right? Direct mail, and not sending large amounts of information, but little nudges and reminders of direct mail can be a very strategic way of doing it. And I would 100% support that if financially and for the budget, it makes sense to do it. So great point, Mark. CNC Machine, thanks so much for all your efforts and insight. It's been fantastic driving through. All right. Love it. CNC Machine Services. I know that there's a name attached to that, but I forget your name. We came across your stuff last week. I appreciate it. Scott, Mark Hogan and I use some directed ads on LinkedIn that would only go to, yes. Yeah. So LinkedIn advertising, we manage right now, gosh, probably about 15 to 20,000 a month across our clients with LinkedIn ads. That is the best PPC campaign that you could possibly do, because you have 100% control over sorry, distracted. You have 100% control over who sees it. So it's not like Google PPC where you're waiting for people to search for you. You're going on the offense and putting it in front of them. Now, caveat is it's expensive. It's not $2 a click. It's $4, $5, $10, $12 a click, depending on who you're going after. But you have 100% control over it. You can say, I want to go after these 150 companies, upload the spreadsheet, build the database, and I only want these types of people, whether it's their job function, job title, their suite number, manager, director, whatever it is. I only want to go after these people. So those are the only people that are going to see it. You can't get more targeted than that. And so what I would say is, do LinkedIn PPC ads work? 100% yes. You have to spend, in my opinion, a minimum of $1,000 to $1,500 to work for industrial companies to make it worth the while. But it does work well, really well. Now, what's the best thing coupled with that is a strong strategic organic campaign that's going to try and get attention organically as well. Those two things coupled together, your brand significantly increases. Tristan, what's up, brother? Evening. Where are you coming from? It's like 12:30 here, man. The doctor is back. The doctor. Look, COVID-19 is hit whole industry. Why is business transformation so important? So you got to adapt and adjust with the things that are working now. So the doctor, let's look at the doctor, for instance. The doctor has a doctorate in engineering. And what they do is, at the company he works for, is very beneficial, and it's worldwide with the software. I believe it's like metal analysis or metal flowing or something like that. But just think about the people that you're going after. You have to adjust. I mean, you guys are competing with some pretty big names out there too, right? Maybe you guys are the biggest, but there's other competitors that are, if you're the biggest, they're right behind you, and you have to adjust with the COVID happening and everybody being more at home. Now, what's the other thing that's being noisy? Them being at home. That's the other noise that they have. And some people are still at home. I don't want people to think like, oh, it opened back up, there's no restrictions, so everybody's back at the office. It's not true. We're still dealing with it from our clients that we're going after people. A lot of people in purchasing and operations and stuff are still remotely when you get up to the higher levels. But you have to think about, things have changed. You have to adapt and adjust based on the market around you and based on the environment. And then people working at home, they're probably not working as much. They've got more distractions. So it's even more important to get in front of them. And you have to transform your strategy into what is going to work now. And everything has to be based on data. So it looks like that's it for the questions for now. We're coming up right to 30 minutes. If there's any last minute questions, I'll do a song and a dance while we let them come through. I appreciate your guys' comments. I appreciate you guys sharing it. Like for those of you that follow the content closely, we are now going live 3 days a week. Mondays is going to be about marketing. Wednesdays is going to be about sales. And Friday, we're talking about small business and side hustle. Each show's about 30 minutes long. We're going to be posting them a day or so ahead of time. So if you don't see the invite, if you don't see the event and you don't register for it, then just go to my profile around noon Central Standard Time, and you should see the show. If you do get value out of this, be sure to go to the go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, turn notifications on. We've probably got, 160, 180 videos out there. Like I said in the beginning of this, we give everything away for free. The value exchange is your time for our information. Looks like we got another question came in. Does your pre-sales engineering course cover for software, or is only for industrial hardware? Yeah, so I appreciate the comment. I think Lanray, maybe. I'm horrible at pronouncing names. So our technical sales university, technicalsalesu.com, is really for any sales engineer that's going after OEMs. So you're going after large companies, it's straight B2B sales. It's not specific to software sales engineer and industrial sales engineer. Now, I do use a lot of examples in the courses for industrial sales engineers just because that's something that I directly came out of. But there's been probably, I'd say 20 to 30 in the last 12 months, software sales engineers that have gone through the course and said it provided a significant amount of value. So for those of you that are looking to dive into a more structured format where the total course or the total university has about 8 hours of video content that we shot last year and continue to update with new courses as new things come up. And then so you watch a session, you watch a video anywhere from 4 to 7, 8 minutes long. You answer a couple questions to make sure you're retaining that information. Then you move on to the next session within that course and so on and so forth. And we cover everything from building pipelines to presentations. So you can go to techsalesu.com to check that out. But that brings up something that is talked about often is industrial sales engineers think that they are the sales engineers. Software sales engineers think that they're the only sales engineers. And it's funny that at the end of the day, you're both the same, right? Software guys have pre-sales engineer and then you have post-sales engineer and you have different levels of the sales process. Whereas the industrial guys just say, I'm a sales engineer. I talk to I hunt for the business. Once I get it, I quote it or send it to an estimator to quote, and I try and close it, and then it moves on to account manager. So similar to the software side, but it's funny that you've got these two worlds of software and industrial, and both of them are like, no, what do you mean? Sales engineer is only for software, or sales engineer is only for industrial? It really is essentially all the same, right? You've got a product or a service. You're trying to go after B2B companies, whether it's companies of 11 or companies of one, depending on your software, companies of 1 to 10,000 plus, and you're trying to get in front of them. How do you do that? Once you get in front of them, how do you pitch to them? How do you close sales? How do you follow up? It's the exact same process, regardless of if you're industrial or software. Oh, and I nailed the name pronunciation. We're gonna definitely clip that and put that up there as one for the record books, because the doc, even though the doc told me how to pronounce his name, I still don't even want to mess it up. I think it's Abor, I think, but we'll see. So like always, guys, I really appreciate you guys tuning in and leaving and sending in comments, because it helps us help you guys. That's all we're trying to do here, is provide as much value as possible, help you out through your sales process, marketing. It could be scary. It could be difficult to look, who to turn to. When I was wanted to start my own company, this was a good fit because there really wasn't anybody doing it at the same time of industrial marketing. There was companies that didn't really know the technical side, so that's why I started it. And same thing with this content. There's not anybody out there, at least right now, that's producing as much content as I am and as we are at MFG Tribe about industrial marketing, technical sales, and just putting it out there for free to teach people, to help them. Our goal is to make your company more revenue and your own pocketbook more income. Abor, that's it, man. I'm still going to call you the doctor, though, because Jesus, dude's got a PhD, I think, in mechanical engineering, or maybe it's meteorology flow or something like that. I mean, so like, look at the doctor right there. He's in here. He's got a PhD and he's in sales. Like, he could probably write the software, or at least understands it for his company deeper than anybody at the company. And he's out there pounding pavement, consuming content, trying to make himself better. And that just shows that, every people that are looking to learn and strive, you're the ones that are going to be greatly successful, and those that think I already have all the answers. For someone in a startup, how can you model yourself to be a pre-sales consultant that adds value, especially when coming from a very technical background? How can you model yourself to be a pre-sales consultant? So, I mean, it depends on what it is that you're selling, right? If you got a really technical background, the thing that I would say is try and dumb it down, right? Sales is not about the specs. Sales is about building relationships and solving problems. So if you have an extremely technical background and you work at a startup and you're in pre-sales, then I would say that if you have a long history of success, then I would say you should move up pretty quickly at that company and start to shape things, but focus on the sales aspect. Go technical when you need to. Check out my videos about showing up and throwing up. You don't want to go too technical, but that's really the model needs to be, it's 80% sales, 20% technical. You've got the technical stuff there. You don't want to bore them with that. You don't want to overload them with information. You just want to go in and say, look, I have all this information at my disposal. This is what you're thinking in your head. I have all this information at my disposal, but how do I get them engaged and tell me what their pain points are, right? So you ask questions like, what are the top 2 things that you're struggling with right now at your job? And what could we do to make it easier for you? Or tell me 3 things that were issues last month, or what's one hurdle you're trying to overcome? And then let them talk and then develop your solution around it. If you're extremely technical, then you should be able to sculpt the conversation around taking your solution, fitting it to their problem, and then going from there. Selling SaaS software to enterprises mainly, but have no experience selling ever. Looks daunting. Yeah, it's easy. Okay. And I'm saying that because I've got a lot of experience, but what you have to understand is it's just having a conversation. You don't have to focus. If you're nervous, it's completely normal. It's good that you're nervous. You shouldn't be too overly confident. But if you're coming from a strong technical into a sales role, you can go through, I would say first thing is go through my YouTube channel and go through the videos on technical sales. You can enroll in the course if you want at Technical Sales University. We've got discounts going on all the time. But understand that it's as simple as having a conversation with somebody, and don't make it more complicated than that, right? You're selling a SaaS product to a company. Just look, what is something that they're struggling with, and how does your solution solve that for them? and just make it as simple as that. Don't go into the details. No, a lot of times people don't want to know all the details and the ins and outs. And it's the biggest challenge of extremely technical people coming into a sales role is you want to go where you're comfortable, which is technical. But from a sales standpoint, you need to look at the cues of what people are saying and then sculpt the conversation around that. So there's tons of content out there about sales. If you're looking for specific in the technical sales world, then definitely check out my content. So I think that's it for now. We're sitting at 38 minutes. So if you guys got value out of this, I'm going to wrap things up. If you got value out of it, then share it with anybody that you know. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to it, please. Turn on notifications, like everything, share everything. It helps us out, and we will see you on the next one.